Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, so we have a lot to cover, so let's just get right to it. We have, another prophecy we're seeing come to pass in our time, but it's coming to pass in ways that most people probably can't perceive. And there's a lot of cool things to share, so let's get right to it. Okay, Zephaniah 3:9. For then will I turn to the people a pure language, that they may all call upon the name of the Lord to serve him with one consent. Now, we see this prophecy echoed in the book of Gad the Seer. Again, the book of Gad the Seer is an apocryphal book that is mentioned in our Bibles. The last video I uploaded, I mentioned Gad the Seer. So here we are in chapter 2, and it says, And you and they shall have one God, one covenant, one law, one language, for all shall speak in the language of Hebrew, the holy language. Okay, now this is a loaded verse, and we're going to get into that. But before we get into that, we need to understand, it's very important to note that the Book of Mormon, in Mormon chapter 9, tells us that Hebrew is actually the only pure language. Okay? So we see this on your screen. We're in Mormon chapter 9, verses 32 through 33. But what's important, it says, And if we could have written in Hebrew, behold, you would have had no imperfection in our record. So they're saying Hebrew is a pure language. Now, to get off topic a little, if you're new to the Book of Mormon, I do want to explain this verse a little in context. The Book of Mormon is actually considered one of the most undefiled scriptures, or it's considered completely undefiled as we have it. What the text means by if we would have written in Hebrew, you would have had no imperfection in our record, is that the original language the Book of Mormon was written in is a rare language mixed of Egyptian and Hebrew that was taken over to South America. Okay, it's a very rare language, and that is prophetic in nature from, as the scriptures say, I called my son out of Egypt and all that kind of stuff. So, meaning like, we all come out of darkness. So it's prophetically and symbolic, not saying that the Book of Mormon has imperfections in it. It absolutely doesn't. So that's what the context of the text is talking about. Okay, so now that we covered God, the parallels of God prophesying, giving us a quote-unquote pure language, let's take a look at Isaiah 19:18. This is a related prophecy, something we're seeing come to pass right here in the New York City area, okay? And there's actually a lot to talk about here. So in that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan and swear to the Lord of hosts, and one shall be called the city of destruction. Okay, so in the context of what we see right here on your screen, I believe this is talking about New York City and the 5 borough area. Okay, in that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan. Now, Canaan was the son of Ham and the father of the heathen nations, right? I have a screenshot of that if people need to see it, but they could just do a topic search. Everyone knows who Canaan is, okay? And swear to the Lord of hosts, right? What does Satan do? He comes as an angel of light and swears to the Lord of hosts in a false light, okay? But one city shall be called the city of destruction. Now, we know prophetically, this might exclude one of the boroughs and include New York City as one of the 5 boroughs, but New York City will be a sanctified city where the wicked cannot come in. Fort Greene here in Brooklyn will be the daughter of Zion. That's where the contention, but that's where the strength of God's arm will be. Okay, so we could clearly see this and compare it to Zephaniah 3:9, this pure language. But the thing is that's really cool is there's another way to read this verse that's not in any standard translation, okay? And to understand that, we need to look in the book of Yashar, chapter 2. What I'm trying to get at is, let me turn back to the prophecy, is that there are two dimensions to the scripture. Yes, we're talking about the language of Canaan, the language of the heathen nations who swear by a false light to the Lord of hosts, and one shall be called the city of destruction because they'll be banished from that city. But we're also talking about the righteous Canaan who lived in the antediluvian days. And we read about the righteous Canaan in the book of Yashar, chapter 2. We clearly see this. Okay, so let's take a look. And Enosh lived 90 years and begot Canaan. Enosh was the son of Seth. Okay, and Canaan grew up and he was 40 years old, and he became wise and had knowledge and skill and all wisdom, and he reigned over all the sons of men, and he led the sons of men to wisdom and knowledge. For Canaan was a very wise man and had understanding and all wisdom, and with his wisdom he ruled over spirits and demons. And Canaan knew by his wisdom that God would destroy the sons of men for having sinned upon the earth, and that the Lord in the latter days would bring upon them the waters of the flood. Okay, so we could see this echoing in our time now, if you have eyes to see, understanding that the waters of the flood not necessarily mean water, it just means God's wrath, God's truth. So we could see how this scripture, the translators, what they're not understanding is, we're talking about Canaan, the son of Ham, but we're also talking about the righteous Canaan, the son of Enos. So we could turn it around to a righteous flipping. Right, in that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan. All right. Are we speaking a language of wisdom and knowledge in these days today? Absolutely. Okay, Psalm 87:7 says, the stringed instruments, the musicians will be there. All my springs are in you. So all these prophecies we're seeing in music and all this kind of stuff, that the consciousness has shifted. We understand colors. We understand numerology. We understand this universal language that we see in poetry, in music. So that would be the righteous language of Canaan. And we'll righteously swear to the Lord of hosts, and one city again shall be called the city of destruction, because New York City will be the sanctified city. Okay, so amazing how we can interpret this. Okay, so now that we've established this all, let's go back to the book of Gad the seer that reflects Zephaniah 3:9. And it says, and you and they shall have one God, one covenant, one law, one language, for all shall speak in the language of Hebrew, the holy language. Okay, we're not all speaking Hebrew yet, and we're probably not going to, but Hebrew has a language of its own that is in this prophetic new language of Canaan that we are living through in Isaiah 19:18. Okay, so what is the Hebrew language that this text is likely talking about? We read all throughout this in our Gospels, right? It's the language of the body parts. You know, the head is someone's prophecy. Someone's neck is their physical substance. The left arm, the right arm, the left foot, the right foot, left side, right side, the breastplate of righteousness, right, on your chest, the belt of truth, all this kind of stuff we read throughout the Bible. These are Hebrew idioms that, so we're likely speaking that language of that pure language of Hebrew would be the righteous language of Canaan. It goes along with all this, with all the language you see in the poetry and in the music and all the springs of God's prophecies for the last days, all that kind of stuff. So that's a way to interpret this, which is actually really amazing. So I really wanted to show that to everybody. Quite profound. Okay, so now that we've established how we're seeing this come to pass in our very time right now, we also have the ability to see this come to pass in our future, okay? If you know the Nag Hammadi scriptures, and if you know the apocryphal books that come along with understanding the truth of the Book of Mormon and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so here are the books of remembrance, specifically the sealed portion of the Brother of Jared. Okay, I ordered these books from these people, and actually once I started reading them, that was the end of me. I was taken away, and here I am now. The cover of this book actually proves my testimony. Okay, so what you see on your screen, these tablets right here, okay, these tablets are actually the original language of Adam before words were invented, okay? So, words, I believe, were invented at the Tower of Babel. When Adam and Eve were around, they were singing. They went off their emotions. They were more supernatural than we are today. Words were actually invented to enslave us, if you could perceive the concept. But this was the original language of Adam. And yes, I believe in the future times, we will be going back to this language because we are prophesied to go back to the original priesthood, probably around the third coming of Christ, far in our future. Okay, now the Nag Hammadi scriptures tell us that we have John 1, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God, etc., etc. But when material existence was created, right, matter is of darkness. We live in a dark existence, ruled by Satan, okay? And God brought forth the Word in this material existence because it's the only way that we could even reach and perceive the faith of light, okay? If you can understand this, the Nag Hammadi scriptures teach this. So the Word that brings us light and truth, because we can't do it on our own. We need to stay in the Word to renew our minds because we can't do it on our own. We need the Word. The Word is actually a thing of darkness, but it brings light to us. That's the truth of the Word, because we are supernatural beings called to go beyond the words. We are called to go walking in the Spirit, but we just haven't evolved to that point yet. So even when Adam was created, they didn't even have words. They had these tablets, which ironically look exactly like what? Mayan hieroglyphs. Okay, so this literally proves this literally proves the truth of the Book of Mormon and their theology, and how the Israelites came to South America and Christ descended, with the Mayan temples and all that kind of stuff. The original language of Adam, clearly we could see where the Mayans got their language. Okay, it's from this proves the theology of Mormonism, or the text, not the religion, but the text. So absolutely astounding. And again, once I started reading this, I was taken away. This proves my testimony. So that was the end of me when I got this book. But okay, guys, so this would be a future fulfillment of Zephaniah 3:9 as well. Okay, thanks for tuning in. Allah bless you.